Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the April 22nd Lebanon Board of Works meeting. Our first order will be the Pledge of Allegiance. Bill, will you lead us, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, next we'll move on to the roll call members. Madam Clerk, will you call the roll?
Mayor Gentry.
Present.
Jane Taylor.
She's absent.
Bill Stoner.
Present.
Dick Robertson.
Present.
Alan Milburn.
Present.
Thank you.
All right. Next will be the approval of the minutes from our previous meeting. Any changes or edits to the amendment or to the minutes?
I make a motion, we approve the minutes.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the minutes. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Minutes are approved. On to department head reports. First up is Police Department. Chief Morgan.
Good evening. Since our last meeting, the Lebanon Police Department responded to 656 calls for service, and a total of 21 people were arrested for the following crimes. 1 for operating while intoxicated, 1 for domestic battery, 7 for wanted on warrant, 3 for possession of methamphetamine, 3 for possession of marijuana, 1 for dealing in marijuana, 1 for dealing in methamphetamine, 1 for possession of a synthetic drug, 1 for counterfeiting, 1 for theft, 1 for driving while suspended. A total of 6 handgun carry permits were issued out by the police department. And then the last 2 weeks were busy weeks for training. The police department hosted several classes. On the 8th, we hosted a class from Glock, an armorer's class, where we sent 2 officers, Captain Miller and Captain Wormuth, too. April 9th through the 11th, Glock also put on an operator's class out at our range, and Officer Tyrese Griffin attended it. On April 10th and 11th, we hosted a class by JDAI, the Juvenile Detention Alert Alternatives Initiative, and the class is called Policing the Teen Brain Workshop. Lieutenant Altier attended that one. Then April 12th through the 14th, Gunsight was out at our range, and they put on a carbine class. Sergeant Nash and Officer Kuntz attended that one. Then April 18th and 19th, we had our first defensive tactics training for the year, and that was going over policies, procedures, and case law pertaining to use of force. Then one thing for you guys to know is by hosting all these classes that we did out at the range and up at the department, we get free spots at those classes, so it doesn't cost the city anything. So the range is actually starting to pay for itself some by the money we put into it by sending our officers to free training. And then, as the board knows, we did the interview with the Board of Works, and all 3 people moved forward. So now they're at the public safety medical part. They've already been for their appointments, but we're waiting to hear back on if they passed.
Okay, very good.
That's all I have.
Any questions for Chief Morgan from the board?
No.
Any questions from the public? Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next up, Fire Department, Chief Batts.
Good evening, everyone. Since the last Board of Works meeting, Lebanon Fire has made 130 emergency calls of service, logged 182 training hours, performed 18 commercial inspections, and participated in 1 public education event. On Wednesday, April the 17th, LFD and the Lebanon Middle School teamed up to change all the smoke detectors at Crown Point Assisted Living. This was the 3rd and final stage of the service learning project. We've partnered with the middle school for the last 3 years on this, and it has 3 stages where we'll go and visit the kids at the school, they'll come to the fire station, and then we will partner on a project that benefits the community. It was a great event for Crown Point. It gave the residents a chance to meet some new people. They spent the morning there, and they received really good reviews from the students and the residents. So very happy it worked out the way that it did. On Thursday, April 18th, Deputy Chief Robert Wiry and I attended a 1-day ISO alternate water supply seminar. This seminar focused on tanker shuttle operations, and this will really benefit the 2 townships we have fire contracts with. That's Harrison and Clinton Township. So it's establishing a better protected rating for any residents lying within a 5-mile radius of a fire station. This will also benefit the City of Lebanon residents to our south that live in the city but are in an unhydrated area. So we're going to get to work immediately on this tanker shuttle project, and we're hoping by mid-next year that it'll be up and running, and we can offer a better protected fire rating to those residents. Today, tomorrow, and Wednesday, firefighters from Lebanon, Center, and Whitestown will be attending classes at the Boone County RMC. The classes are for power line safety and awareness, and we want to thank the Boone County RMC for supplying these classes. Last but not least, Lieutenant Brett Klingler has accepted a promotion to captain. Lieutenant Klingler is a 19-year member of Lebanon Fire. Can't say enough about Brett. Just very proactive. He's the chair of our Project Lifesaver, always stepping up to do extra duty. We've had several candidates in this process for the last month. I was able to tell Brett today that he's receiving the promotion. So we will be back on we will be back on May 13th at a city council meeting to officially swear in Brett. That's all I have for this evening.
Very good. Any questions for Chief Batts from the board? Any questions from the public? Okay. Next up, Parks Department, John Messenger.
Good evening. Hope everybody had a nice Easter. Wasn't that nice? Beautiful day. Wish it would have been Saturday.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. We had a huge turnout a pretty good turnout for the weather Saturday for our Easter egg hunt. I want to thank quite a few people. Jack Carroll from Purity Wholesale Grocers for the kind donation and the Easter candy. Everybody got full candy bars, just tons of candy. They had to be happy and full of sugar after it was over. Walmart for their Easter baskets, and Mrs. Bohannon's class. They stuffed all the eggs, 10,000 eggs. There were tons of them out there. And also a thank you to the mayor for emceeing the event. Appreciate it. We couldn't have done it with all the support that we had. Soggy, but the kids were all smiling. And again, Mayor, what did you think? 10, 15 seconds, they were all gone? He was in the middle and almost got knocked over several times.
Yeah, well, and the older group too, they go so fast too. They're running and, yeah.
It was good. It was really nice. The Easter Bunny was there. I want to thank the Easter Bunny, too, for showing up to our event. We had another huge turnout for the Daddy-Daughter Dance. That was 2 weeks ago. And we had over 450 guests. Just a great event. Want to thank the high school for the space that we had. Also, the Party Blitz, they were the face painters. They did a nice job. And our DJ, Richard Carson, of course, want to thank all the family and friends that volunteered, too. There are a lot of family members there helping out, working the food line and ticket taking and all that. But also Taylor Moss and Cole Henry. They were our Beauty and Beast this year and did an outstanding job. It was just a great event. I think we even had a visitor from Michigan that's been there for several years that came to, takes his daughter, stays in our hotel. It's really nice, but the word's gotten out, 450, and we had quite a few out-of-towners this year. We had a Megan Hammerly 5K, the 4-year anniversary for that. On Saturday before our Easter egg hunt, quite a big turnout for that. There again, that weather was just nasty, to say the least. Our projects that we have going on, our splash pad at Abner Longley, the dog park at Abner Longley, and Memorial Shelter at Memorial Park are making great progress. They're all in their final stages. We should look at middle of May to complete that. There again, if we don't have that soggy, nasty weather that we've had, we'd probably have them wrapped up. But I've seen quite a few of you looking and had quite a few compliments. The features are up at the splash pad, looking good, sidewalks going in. Really completing that project. The dog park, we're getting there. We're getting the electric, getting the security cameras and the security gate all completed. And then at the Memorial Park shelter, completing that. Nice sidewalk, the entryway coming up, quite a few things to finish up, some little electrical work, but it's looking really good. I want to thank the utilities also. They've been out helping us with these projects. Some, they get out there, and I know they have their hands full with the weather conditions we've had. But I want to thank them for their hard work and support too. We have officially started issuing dog license too for all the little pups out there. All you need to do is come in the office and register. We've registered 51 since we started just a couple weeks ago. They're trickling in. It's a free service, and it'll track the dog in case there's any loss, and we share that information with other departments. So if, if you have a dog, come out to the park, get it registered. That's all I had.
Thank you, John. Any questions for John from the board? Any questions from the public? Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Next up, Engineering Department, Kevin Krulik.
Thank you, and good evening, board members. Engineering report for this week. Start off looking at downtown. Still a lot going on, as you can imagine, as the weather improves. More continues to be added to the contractor's plate as far as work that they're performing. Work completed since we last met. Really the landscaping installation around the square, or as we would refer to as phases 1 through 3. That is essentially as far complete as we can take it to date. There are some annuals and grasses that are still to go in, but we need the weather to be a little warmer before we can do that. So those are tentatively scheduled to go in towards the end of May. But all the other shrubs and trees are now in place. Also, in Phase 1, the pavers at the southeast corner of Main and 39, there at the corner of the Key Bank building, those were also set in the last week. And the Montgomery Ward building awning has been modified to remove that awning from the corner of 32 and Meridian, so that that intersection can receive the new decorative traffic signal poles. That'll be going up later this spring and early summer. Going into the off of the square, Phase 4, the first block between 39 and West Street, all the curbs have been installed. Asphalt up to the final surface coat has also been installed. All the sidewalks are now in, and we're just nearing the completion of that phase here and hope to open it in the next few weeks. Going west of West Street, water demolition has also been completed. The final tie-ins on the water mains to the west are also complete at this point. Work expected before the next meeting, obviously weather pending, but we hopefully the rains will move on. Decorative light pole banners around the square, so phases 1, 2, and 3, those will be completed. Phase 4, the pavers are ongoing. They're moving west from the Key Bank building, and they're actually working in front of the Par Ritchie Law Office and should be wrapping those up in the next couple of days. Water service laterals west of West Street, continuing the water demolition west of West Street. Those are also scheduled to be completed in the next few days. One note, we do have to go back into the intersection of Main and 39 to remove some water infrastructure. Now that we've completed the water main connections to the west, so we have to go back in there one more time and remove a large water cross that's buried in the middle of that intersection. That is tentatively scheduled to happen this Wednesday, so a word of caution to the traveling public, that work will involve closures of lanes. You will not be able to drive west on Main Street. We'll close off at the intersection of 39, and then as you're going north and south on 39, you will be reduced down to one lane, and there will be flaggers and other traffic control devices there to get you through that area. So if at all possible, if you can take an alternate route on Wednesday, there will be some traffic modifications and closures there that will last 4 to 6 hours, but water infrastructure, deep water infrastructure, it's hard to really pin down how long that will take, and you never know what might come up as you get into working with those old historic water mains.
Is that one we're just removing?
We are removing and then capping it on both ends.
Okay.
So
Is that something they could do at night? So we don't have to worry so much about traffic?
You know, that's always a good question, and it's always something that we consider. The problem we've had in other operations trying to do it at night, which is why we're looking at during the daytime, is when you're working after hours, and you're working on these historic water mains, you can't always anticipate everything you're going to come across. And when you're doing it after hours, you can't run to the store, or you can't run to the pipe supplier to get fittings that you didn't know you would need. You don't always have the personnel from the water company there to turn off other
Okay.
mains in the event you have an emergency situation.
Okay.
So, yes, you can always do it at night, but it does provide a different level of difficulty and complexity to the job. That's why we're going to tackle this one in the day and use the flaggers to get the traffic through.
Okay.
Other outstanding items that are still scheduled, that are moving forward, the west side of 39 between Maine and Washington, we had a good meeting with NDOT last week. Design is underway, and we're working on getting that project permitted. This will include the storm sewer at the intersection of Washington Street to replace some additional ancient infrastructure that was found during the previous construction phases. And we are also working with the state on resurfacing of 39. The state is scheduled to resurface 32 all the way through Lebanon next year. And we believe they're interested in also coming north 2 blocks to help clean up the downtown after all the new construction is complete.
They think 32 will wait another year?
That is a very good question. Yeah, if you know much about asphalt and you've paid close attention to State Road 32, it does not look good through town. It is something that's in dire need of replacement. But that is their schedule to bid it late this year and construct it in 2020. So we'll see.
Yeah.
I think we've tried to approach them by doing some strip patching down by Casey's is kind of the worst section right there.
Starting at
Spencer and,
Spencer Avenue and going all the way to Denny's, all the way that far?
well,
One big strip,
when they-
big strip
well,
patch.
it's another
They have
strip
done
patch
some
at that
strip
point.
patching
but-
over the last 2 seasons. And, yeah, we were out there last week with NDOT stressing to them that some of this is not going to last another year,
I don't
especially
think so.
another winter.
I don't think so.
So they are concerned. We're all scratching our heads. The pavement experts are involved trying to figure out why that pavement has grossly underlived its lifespan, but we're adjusting, so. Also, NDOT coordination that continues. I mentioned the old Montgomery Ward building and the awning modifications that took place last week. We do have some NDOT permit amendments that we need for that intersection work. Again, we found some old storm sewer infrastructure in that intersection that we didn't know was not shown in the original construction plans, and so we're asking them to amend permits to allow us to replace that storm sewer underneath the intersection of 32 and Meridian. So we had a meeting last week with NDOT to try to coordinate that permit amendment. Our permit does not cover storm sewer within the state route, but obviously it needs to be done, and they're sympathetic to that, and they're working on amending that permit for us. Again, remind everyone to continue to look for weekly updates from the contractor, Facebook pages of the engineering department, as well as the Heart of Lebanon for those daily updates, and just, again, ask you continue to promote and patronize our downtown businesses. East Street, no further updates there. We do have some trees here that's scheduled to go in this spring and to be relocated around the intersection of Tiger Way to clear up some visibility issues. Looking at the northern interchange, again, we had an additional information request from the Infra Grants team. That's the U.S. Department of Transportation Infrastructure for Rebuilding America. We did provide that additional information to them last week. So again, we are still in the running for that grant, and there'll be additional grants that will come up due this July that we are also tracking. Pavement resurfacing, no real updates here other than our bid packages are nearing completion and are scheduled to be published this Friday. Those will be opened at a later Board of Works meeting on May 27th. We will approach that as looking at all of our current resurfacing programs that we have allocated for this year. And once we see where those numbers come in at, then we'll talk about whether additional appropriation or other funding options are necessary for some of those streets. Also on that note, our sidewalk replacement program, our active living programs, our bid packages are also nearing the finish line there and are scheduled to be published this Friday for a May 27th opening. There are some sidewalks that are on our plan for this year that we have encountered some right-of-way acquisition issues. We don't have right-of-way in some of the areas where we wanted to add sidewalks where there currently are none. So we're working with consultants to try to acquire that right-of-way. And so we'll probably have to do a second bid package for sidewalk work later in the summer once that right-of-way acquisition issue is resolved. Been working with the street department, David Newell and team. We have the equipment and materials in to do some pedestrian improvements, some traffic calming improvements, kind of on a temporary nature around our schools and parks. So we're looking to install those this week, just weather and schedules pending. But we are planning to do that as soon as we can. Lafayette Avenue walks have also started construction last week, so you might see new sidewalks going in between Campbell and Camp Street, and those sidewalks will continue south to connect sidewalks all the way down to the intersection of Lafayette Avenue and Hoy. Street Department unit price material bids. We are rebidding the stone, sand, and concrete materials. And those bid packages are out on the street, and we are scheduled to open those here at your May 13th meeting. So look for that. Indianapolis Avenue Phase 2 updates. Water, electric, and AT&T relocations are ongoing at this time. Unfortunately, they're a little behind schedule, and I do anticipate them delaying the start of our road reconstruction till mid to late May. We'll keep things posted there, but we think we have a plan in working with the contractor and the state, as this is a federally funded project, to keep our completion schedule on track, which is scheduled for November 15th. Grant Street, no further updates since the last meeting. Riley Ridge, just happy to report there we've accepted storm sewers, and also happy to report there are about 10 homes under construction in there right now. So a lot of activity going on there. Speaking of other new neighborhoods, the Sunbrook Phase 1 plans have been approved for construction, and they are expected to start construction in early May. And with that, that's all I have. A couple of notes here. I attended the American Society of Civil Engineers Indiana chapter annual meetings last week, and David Newell, myself, and some others from the Storm Sewer Department are planning to attend the Indiana State MS4 meetings next week. So that's all I have for tonight.
Okay. Any questions for Kevin from the board? No. Any questions from the public? Okay. Thank you, sir.
I have the planning report.
Yep,
if you
go
would
ahead.
like me to.
Yep.
Okay. Planning report for tonight. Between April 8th and April 22nd, we've done 45 building inspections, and we've issued 58 permits, various different issues. Residential permits, 7 new construction permits, 6 HVAC permits, 6 roofing permits, 20 electrical permits, 2 fences, 1 building addition, 8 plumbing permits, 3 accessory structures, and 1 person's getting a new pool. Commercial permits, 2 permits have been issued there, and that's 1 for new construction and 1 for a remodel. And then we've also issued 2 permits for work within the right-of-way. Code enforcement actions in the since the last meeting. We've had 2 unsafe structure complaints with inspections and follow-ups there. We've had 39 inspections and/or follow-ups on trash and debris complaints. And then vehicle and parking complaints, we've had several, 4 for parking semi-trucks in residential areas, 13 for parking recreational vehicles in residential areas, 4 for commercial vehicles, 4 citations issued for parking over the sidewalk, 10 for parking in the grass, 18 junk vehicles, and 2 violations for people living in recreational vehicles, and 1 for an obstruction of the street. The only other note from the planning department, I'd just like to note that Rundell Ernstberger, our consultant assisting us on the completion of our new comprehensive plan update, will be delivering drafts of the first few sections, or they did, excuse me, last week for review, and there will be additional sections delivered to us next week for review. Staff will be reviewing these internally and then distributing those out for steering committee input as well as comments from other departments. Still on schedule to adopt that middle of this year. That's all I have from the planning department.
Any questions for Kevin concerning the planning report? No. Anything from the public? Okay. Next up is Street Department and Stormwater Department. Dave Newell.
How's everybody doing?
Good.
Another night, we should have had this outside, but I won't complain. Let's see, we've been out patching holes. We're gonna go back out tomorrow, probably about 4 tons. Patch some more holes, catch up on that, and then we should have a pretty good handle on it. We got a few of those still out there. We got 2 chipper trucks out, thanks to John at the Parks Department. We borrowed theirs to catch up. We had a small debris week last week, and with the rain and stuff, we didn't get a chance to do all that we wanted, so we're just gonna go big this week with it. And then stormwater crew's been jetting holes still for the sidewalk going on Lafayette Avenue, so they don't cut any lines, so that's been going real well. I know Joe Wilson appreciates that, and just saves time. And they put a, they repaired 2 structures, I think, since our last meeting they've worked on. We did have 2 people attend a traffic control training class, which was presented by LTAP. That was the 11th. That was a good class. Do that for the road school master builder stuff they get. Helps out a lot. Also, Friday and Saturday is spring cleanup. 7 to 4 both days, rain or shine. Usually rain, but we're hoping for shine. So, we take everything except hazardous waste. We don't take any brush or tires. No oil-based paint. No drywall or roofing materials, stuff like that. But we will accept refrigerators, air conditioners at no fee. They won't take TVs this year. They used to just take them. We're not taking them, but we take mattresses. You name it, they pretty much take it. So we're good to go. Also on Saturday, the 27th, from 9 to 2, that is get the Boone County Highway Department doing the hazardous waste, where you can take chemicals, paint, household hazardous waste. So that goes hand in hand. That works out pretty good. I think they might take tires as well. I'm not sure. And that's all I got.
Okay, thank you, Dave. Any?
So Friday and this coming Friday and Saturday is
Yeah, the
the
26th,
cleanup or the
27th, yep, both days.
drop everything off at the office at what time?
7 to 4.
7 to 4.
I
Okay.
wouldn't, you have to.
You'll take you'll take my old charcoal grill that I want to
Yeah.
get rid of. Okay.
You can't drop it off though, you gotta unload it.
Yeah, I'll throw a couple steaks in for you. Box of hamburgers for.
Any other questions for Dave from the board? No. Any questions from the public? Okay, thank you, Dave.
Thanks.
And then, Kevin, you have Joe's report as well? So communications and community development
We're
report?
going to have to pay him more?
Triple duty tonight, so I think everyone took the warm weather to mow their yard like I need to, but I'll probably get a code violation tomorrow. But regardless, communications report for tonight. This is Joe's report, so I wanted to let everyone know, Joe wanted to let everyone know that our new initiative, the Love in Lebanon podcast, is up and running. It is now live. You can find those podcasts on iTunes. You can also find them on the city's website. Again, this is an initiative aimed at increasing communication throughout the city. This is an opportunity for us to get more in depth with different departments and what's going on throughout the city. It's also informal. We'll be beginning, as I said, with city departments and having those conversations about what's happening in various departments, and then branching out to events and other establishments around town. Again, these will be added to the website and kept up on iTunes and Google Play, and so we encourage everyone to go out and look for those. Also, there was a video taken at the Easter egg hunt this last weekend that has been posted to the city website and the YouTube page, so take a look at that fun event. And then remind everyone that May 18th and 19th, coming up here before you know it, is the Mel Kenyon Classic, scheduled for in Memorial Park. Remind everyone that we'll need volunteers for that event, lots of volunteers. So if you want to come out and help out with a great event, we encourage you to participate in the Mel Kenyon Classic. Thank you.
Okay, any questions for Kevin?
No.
Question from the public? Okay, thank you, sir. All right, that concludes department head reports. We'll move on to old business. I don't have anything on my agenda. Anything from the board?
No, none.
Okay, then we'll move on to new business then. First item up is a street closure request on Washington Street from the Lebanon Public Library. We have Bo and Nicole with us tonight, so Bo, make him do it? Okay.
Good evening. My name is Bo Cunningham. I'm the director of the Lebanon Public Library. On June 3rd, Monday, June 3rd, we are going to have our summer reading kickoff event, and we're here to ask that we can close the street in front of the library. It's Washington between East and Meridian. We don't need the intersections. The event will go from 2 to 6 p.m. We're asking for a closure from noon to 7. That gives us 2 hours for setup and an hour for tear down afterwards. We expect probably about 600 to 800 attendees there, kids and their parents. This is when they come and sign up for the summer reading program at the library. We've invited a lot of other nonprofits. Others that have said they're coming is the Boone County Cancer Society, the Community Foundation, the Humane Society. We'll also have the Bloodmobile and the Pacer Band there. Activities will include bounce house for the kids, face painting, and Mark Lehman as a magician there. We've also contacted the Reporter and Periwinkles, the two other businesses on the street, to make sure it's okay with them, and they have had no problem with it. And in fact, I think Periwinkles really likes the extra foot traffic that it brings. So with your permission, we'd like to close the street that day.
Okay, any questions for Bo from the board?
No? I'm just assuming they've spoken to police and fire and worked out those details.
We have not. We wanted to pass it with you first, and then we would go to them and get the details.
Usually if we're doing just a one block without intersections, it's really not as big of a deal, but we can, I'm sure we can.
I don't think it's a big deal, just that they've been notified and discussed and.
No issues from that.
You're okay?
Yeah,
You guys
they're good.
okay? Okay. All right.
Okay, then I would entertain a motion to approve the street closure request on June 3rd on Washington Street between East and Meridian from noon to 7.
I make a motion, we approve the June 3rd closing of Washington Street between Meridian and East between 12 and 7.
Okay, we have motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, street request is approved.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, next up, Kevin and John. This is the Abner Longley Drive Path authorization for quotes.
I'm passing out an exhibit that shows you what we're here to talk about tonight. It's also up on the screen. This is just a quick little exhibit that the Parks Department and myself have put together for a new road to be built to service the, to allow people to reach the parking lot next to the dog park. There's currently a gravel road, essentially. It's been built out of asphalt millings. So what we're looking to do is just ask for your authorization to seek quotes to turn that into a formal asphalt drive that will lead people back to the dog park parking area. So this is the exhibit that we'll use. So we're just asking again for your authorization to seek quotes for the construction of the dog park road.
And we're, to clarify here too, we're talking about 24-foot wide, so it's dual traffic, right? Is that correct? Okay. I just wanted to make sure I clarified that. So this would be one lane in, one lane out, so it's a dual purpose, not just a one-way. Okay.
So not just the 10-foot, so 24-foot?
24 foot. Yeah, there's an existing road there
It's
that's
10,
less.
yeah. Yes.
And we're gonna use that material as base. We're gonna widen out that base, and then we're gonna build a full 24-foot driveway back to that parking area.
So in and out?
In and out.
Okay.
Yep, 2 lanes with proper radiuses, turning radiuses at the entrance for traffic coming in and in from Noble Street, as well as turning out on Noble Street to make sure that there's a wide enough entrance there for those vehicles to get in and out of the road.
Okay.
Okay.
Will you need funding? Do you have funding in your department, or you're going to need? So once we get the quotes, you guys will come.
Possibly not.
come before the council and ask for some help on the funding part? Okay.
It's part of the master plan also. It's not just strictly for the dog park. It's for overflow parking, part of the bike pedestrian plan, nature center. It's in our parks master plan, so it is
Okay.
part of the infrastructure.
Okay. Well, I'll let the council members know that you'll be coming to ask after you get some numbers of some kind. Okay.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, so would entertain a motion to authorize the Parks Department to seek quotes for the construction of the drive in Abner Longley Park.
I would move that we allow the Parks Department to secure those bids for constructing
It's
that road.
the quotes, not bids.
Quote, I mean. Quote. Right.
Yep. Okay, so we have a motion to authorize seeking quotes. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, authorization is granted. Thank you, guys. All right, and last but not least, we have the water and sewer agreement with Weber Concrete. And I'll let Kevin kind of introduce this issue.
I'll have some exhibits here for the board. The development plan for the Weber Concrete office on Indianapolis Avenue. This is 3701 South Indianapolis Avenue. This is extreme southern end of the city of Lebanon, right adjacent to the boundary between Lebanon and Whitestown. Also, the letter requesting this action from their engineer, Munch Engineering. Let me pass these out, and then I'll... I would also like to note that Brian Munch with Munch Engineering is also in the room if we have any further technical questions. Ed Basquill with Lebanon Utilities is also seated behind me here if there's any questions for him. Essentially, I am here on behalf of Weber Concrete requesting this agreement. What we have is a situation where this site, as I mentioned, the location is well outside of the limits of our current sanitary and water main and water infrastructure. We have an ordinance in our Code of Ordinances, paragraph 55.021, that requires the use of sewers. We do not have sewers in the immediate vicinity of this property, nor anywhere close. Our sewers basically extend to the fairgrounds and do not extend into this area at this time. There are plans that will to extend those at some point in the future, but in the interest of timing and keeping Weber Concrete under construction and on a path to occupy their new building, we would like to discuss with you on their behalf a special agreement. Of the same Code of Ordinances, paragraph 55.045 authorizes the board to enter into special agreements whereby extraordinary circumstances would compel special terms and conditions for the sewer service of a site. And that's what we have here. There's no immediate sewers in this vicinity, so the developer, Weber Concrete, has asked us to enter into a special agreement, and I am here requesting that special agreement on their behalf. We have been working with Lebanon Utilities and their engineer, as well as executives at Weber, and would propose a 2-year temporary condition whereby we would allow them to build a temporary water well and a sewer holding tank that they would be responsible for pumping out and keeping well maintained. And we feel as though that 2-year period will give the city and Lebanon Utilities the time to provide more formal water and sewer service to the property. So again, we're asking for your authorization to negotiate and enter into a special agreement for water and sewer service for the Weber Concrete site. I would ask that any motion be subject to legal review, and upon completion of that special agreement, that the mayor be authorized to execute that agreement on behalf of the city through its Board of Works between the city and Weber Concrete. Any questions?
Does the utility board have anything to sign off on for this, or anything at all?
I believe I don't believe a utility board sign-off is required. Again, our code of ordinance just speaks to this board and agreements being between the city and the owner, and so that's what we're here for tonight. Certainly Ed might be able to speak to that better than I can, but obviously there would be an administrative approval for this type of action that would be required, but not a board-level approval.
Okay.
Any other questions from the board? I think it's pretty clear we do have extraordinary situation. I know we've talked about how do we serve the annexed area with utilities for a long time. This is kind of our first new tenant, so to speak, in this area. So it's really definitely moved this conversation along. We've been having a lot of internal conversations and external conversations with people of how do we provide utilities in this area. And this has been one of those issues that's caused us to, we need to find a solution. So personally, I think it's a good policy for us to say it's not forever, it's a 2-year. Gives us time to resolve the larger picture, and then they can fit into that. I think it gives us time to figure out what our plan is, and actually not to figure out what the plan is, but nail down the details of the plan and then put that into practice. So, any further thoughts or discussion from the board? Or questions for Brian that's here as well with us tonight?
So this is a 2-year agreement?
Yes, that would be our intention. This would be an agreement that would be no longer than 2 years before it would expire.
From start to finish, or?
I would say that would be 2 years from a certificate of occupancy for the building,
Okay.
which is, they're probably within 4 weeks of that certificate of occupancy.
All right.
Okay.
So let's hope it doesn't go past 2 years, but if it does, what's the options then after 2 years? And we haven't moved that direction, I'm assuming. We're trying to work out one direction,
I think
anything possible.
I think if we come to that 2 years point, we always could choose to extend it again. But again, like I said, they were kind of the one that started the discussion of we need to be serious about how do we resolve this situation down here. And so I think getting them up and running is the first priority. That kind of, once they can get up, they're good to go, and then allows us to then, again, hammer out those details on exactly how we're going to provide service. So I think based on the discussions we've had, 2 years is doable, and we can
Worst
have.
case scenario, they just come back and ask for extension.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Okay.
We already have options in place that we're studying on parallel tracks for how we will serve this area. So I'm more than comfortable with that 2-year horizon that we will have this issue addressed and in place before we get to that point.
So we'd come back and revisit it after 2 years,
If we have to.
if you have to.
Yeah.
But they're probably going to be already attached on by that
Right.
point, so. Okay, so any further discussion, comments? Okay, so would entertain a motion to enter into a temporary waiver, is that a fair way to say it, or special agreement?
I think it is a special agreement for
Okay.
water and sewer service.
Okay, seeking approval to enter into a special agreement between the city and Weber Concrete concerning their water and wastewater service. Allow us to draft that water and sewer agreement with pending final legal review, and allow the mayor to execute that on your behalf as well.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, we have a motion, is there a second?
Second?
Motion and a second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, that is approved. We'll start working on that. Thank you, Kevin. All right, that concludes what I have for new business. New business, is there any new business from the board?
No.
Okay, then we'll move on to claims. Any discussion concerning the claims, or to entertain a motion?
Make a motion, we approve the claims?
We have a motion to approve the claims. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, and we entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
We have a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, we are adjourned. The city council meeting will begin at 7:15.